Finally, I want to show you the last two modifiers, which are very important and that we'll need to finish our models. The first one is symmetry. We're going to create a box and center it to our axis. Right-click on Select and move and center here. Or we could do it quickly from the bottom like this, right-clicking on the arrows. And now it's centered. Press F4 to see the wireframe and then go to Modify and make sure you add 2 segments per side. Okay, the next thing we need to do is add our edit poly and see how our symmetry works. Go to Front and select the vertices. Now let's edit this a little. Let's move this over here, this here, like this for example. What the symmetry does is it always uses the pivot as a base. So what we're going to do is delete half of the model so that it automatically fills up symmetrically on the other side. Go to Polygon and delete 1/2. We can do this from front, which is much easier. So we have 1/2 selected. Press Delete to get rid of it. Unselect Polygon and add the Symmetry modifier. Here it is. As I said, Symmetry will use the pivot as a base. You can see that it disappears, and if you click on the axis, it will probably act strangely or it won't work properly. We need to make sure of the direction that we are on to achieve our symmetry. In this case, on the x-axis, we'll flip and there we go. Go to Front, and from here we're going to edit our geometry. Go back to Edit Poly, select the vertices, and if we take this away, this is our geometry. Now the opposite side is selected, and if you modify it, it automatically modifies together. We'll be using this a lot and it will give us very accurate results. If we place ourselves inside symmetry, then always unselect whatever we've used. This is very important. You can access the mirror with this little arrow here. If you select this, the gizmo will turn orange, and if it's selected, you can adjust the geometry however you like. You could put them together to join them. These properties have referred to the union of these, so it's set to join at a distance of 0.1. Although, as I said, you can select mirror and just move it manually to wherever you need. Now let's see Turbosmooth. This is another modifier that we'll apply always at the end of our modeling process. To understand how it works, we'll use it on this figure here. What Turbosmooth does is it completely smoothens the shape. Search for it on the list of modifiers under T. Then we'll apply it. So you see how it softens or smoothens the surface of the model. It works based on iterations, so right now we have 1. But if we add 2, it softens even more. 3, 4. It generates a mesh in order to soften the model. So we've seen what effect it has, but as you can see, it doesn't look anything like the original shape we had. Turbosmooth recognizes the mesh we have and it smoothens approximately. To understand this better, we'll go to Create and make a basic object, a teapot. If we get closer, we can see that the teapot actually has a lot of geometry. It's not completely flat. Go to Modify and while selecting the teapot, add the Turbosmooth. See how it smoothens it a little bit more, and now the geometry is slightly different. Press F4 again to see the wireframe, and if we remove Turbosmooth, we can see this clearly on the area of the handle, how it smoothens. If you add Turbosmooth with a repetition, it doesn't completely smoothen the geometry. It's still a bit rough. That's why the best thing to do when using Turbosmooth is to use 2 iterations. Now it's very smooth and the difference between having it and not having it is larger. An important option is isoline display. What this does is, as you can see, if you input 2 iterations, it creates a mesh that's not very big. So, selecting isoline display, the mesh is reduced, keeping the 2 iterations that we added. The model is still smooth. We'll understand Turbosmooth more as we go along, but this was just to give you an idea of how it works.